The Now Legacy Network, the overlooked and the underserved. Hosted by the one and only Darius Ely, aka Mr. Never Satisfied. Today's episode is being sponsored by a Day and Night Watch Company. Time speaks of a person's everyday grind and reminds us not to forget what it may have taken to get where you are today. It is more than just an elegant watch. It's a timepiece that describes the characteristics. Get yours today and join the Day and Night Watch Team family. Get 15% off using the discount code FAMOUSNOW on the website. Check it out. It's at www.dayandnightwatches.com. Today, we have a very special guest on hand. She decided to join us today. She took time out of her busy schedule to be with us, and I'm very excited to have her on. We have a mental wealth advisor, TV streamer, TV extraordinaire. She has her own show, has a show Creating Mental Wealth. She is a keynote speaker, which actually she's getting ready to go out into Vegas and do some keynote speaking soon. She is a servant leader. She's a person of many hats that's in the communities, boots on ground, working and loving on people and making sure that they know that. Most importantly, she is a survivor. I am talking about Miss Sherry James, PMP, project manager profession. Miss Sherry James, welcome to the Famous Now Show.
Thank you, Darius. It is so exciting to be here. I love it. I love it. I love what you're doing. I am honored that you had me on. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, we had to definitely have you on. Um, again, we did our research. We found out across the DFW the lives that you're touching and changing. Um, it started a couple years back with 2020 lives changed.org. Would you care to share how that journey started?
Absolutely. I have 30 years of corporate America leadership experience. So I was a corporate leader for a very long time. I would do speaking on the side. So I would travel and do presentations because that's my passion. I love to do that. I love getting on stages and teaching people about servant leadership. I taught people about project management, leadership, all those good things. And so in 2019, I decided to start a company, Phoenix Speaks,
Mm-hmm.
because I believe that a lot of what had happened in my life back when I was younger, a lot of the trauma that I endured, I just kind of kept it hidden most of my life. And none of the people who knew me now knew anything about my past. And so, if you know the story of the phoenix sets herself aflame every 500 years to renew herself so she can continue to rise. So I created Phoenix Speaks around that same kind of thing. Like I'm putting all of my past aflame. I'm renewing myself. I am coming out of this a beautiful creature. And that was kind of the purpose for the for profit. And I had this business plan that was awesome. I was like, I'm going to also create a nonprofit so that when I go into companies and I speak about the topics that I talk about, I wanted to also then be able to go into organizations like schools and churches and military bases and do that same presentation for no cost. And so I created the organization 2020 Lives Changed. And the funny story is that, like, I had a dream about the number 2020, and I said, okay, God is talking to me. He's telling me that
Yeah,
I'm going to touch 2020 lives because I'm a project manager. Like, so we have to
yeah,
have a goal, right? And I said, surely that's what this means. This means that in the work that I'm doing, I'm going to touch 2020 lives. And as it turns out, I was relieved of my corporate responsibility and my corporate role in March of 2020. And I said, okay, God, I guess this is what I'm doing full time. I guess this is it. And I realized that all of our lives changed in 2020.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Yeah, so that's how we got here. We're almost 3 years old, so we survived,
Wow.
and we're still changing lives.
Wow. Wow. So the goal is to change 2020 lives.
Well, not now. So that was our
Okay.
original goal.
Okay.
But we did that in like the first month. So I was on an Amazon Prime
Wow.
TV show. And so I think we ended up touching close to 1 million lives in that first month. So we had to reevaluate and we're like, okay, we need to just talk about the fact that in 2020, everybody's life changed. All
Yes.
lives changed in 2020. And as a
Yes.
result, we're going to continue to do the work to show people how to become mentally wealthy, and start talking proactively about things like suicide prevention well before a person ever considers it.
Absolutely. I did have the opportunity to take a preview of the Amazon show that you mentioned. I've also seen that you're an author. You're working um, at your own show and your own network, and you're building a buzz here in the DFW airport. I was saying, but you're building a
Hopefully more
buzz.
than the airport. Hopefully people
Right,
hear.
right. But you're building a buzz, and it's not a buzz um that's a typical buzz in my eyes. It's a positive rhythm that's actually being poised against a lot of people. A lot of people are watching and they're learning this thing right here, mental wealth. Mental wealth is. At this point in time, I know that you talk a lot about mental wealth and the importance of it, but would you care to share what that actually means and what's the goal of mental wealth?
Absolutely. So, I have a lot of experience in leadership coaching and training. I decided when I wrote my book, after the suicide, Leading in Love and Light, I was 47 years old when I decided to let people know about the struggles that I had in the earlier part of my life, when it came to my dad's suicide, when it came to my mom's suicide. And I started having these conversations. So I switched up my topics when I was on stages from talking just about leadership to the challenges in leadership when it came to our mental health. And nobody wants to talk about it. So the higher up you go in the corporate ladder, the less people you can talk to about your mental struggles. And so I partnered with some companies. We started having conversations about mental health. But of course, because of the pandemic, everybody started talking about mental health, right? Everybody
Yes,
was talking about it. Even people who had no real reason to talk about it, it just seemed to be a hot topic. Like you said, it was the buzz. And so that's what
yes,
everybody wanted to talk about. And so I decided to step back and reevaluate my message. And my message is that we can all be mentally wealthy. It doesn't matter what color we are, doesn't matter what background we've come from, the trauma that we've experienced. Every human has the capacity to become mentally wealthy. And what I've created is a program that is a curriculum for kindergarten through 12th graders. There's a curriculum for university students. There's a curriculum for those who are working, like actively, working in their field or career. And specifically, there's one just for C-level executives, sorry, CEOs and CIOs of companies. And so it's a paradigm shift, Darius. It's a way
hmm
to think differently about our mental health. And
hmm
so I've developed this program so that people can understand what things that do they do that are mental health deposits, right? This conversation that you and I are having, like this is a deposit for me. This makes my day better, right? This is
yes,
something
ma'am.
that will help me throughout the day. Now, when we get off of this call, something could happen on the news or just in life that will become a withdrawal, right? And so what I do is I teach people how to understand how to balance their mental wealth account, how to document things that could be debits or credits or withdrawals, how to do things like this TV show. Hopefully, everyone that sees this show or listens to the show, this becomes an interest bearing activity. So right now we're bearing interest. More people are interested.
Yeah,
More people are learning. And also the concept of understanding that mental health has to begin pretty much at birth. Like it's not something you want to start when you're in the middle of a crisis. Like we want to talk about it before it's necessary. Ultimately, our goal is to save as many lives as we can that are lost to mental illness and suicide. So we've got a pretty lofty goal, but we decided to, instead of just talking about it after it happens, after someone has a traumatic event, we said, why don't we start talking about it proactively, teaching children the importance of articulating their emotions so that we
Hmm.
as parents and teachers and clergy, like we can all help our children at a much earlier age. And then, of course, the curriculum changes, right? So when you go to university, we talk about things, or college, we talk about things like the
Yeah.
emotionality of success, because nobody
Yes.
knows how to prepare you for like what's about to happen in
Yeah.
college and the mental, the mental stuff there. So that's what it is. Mental wealth is the opportunity for you to take control over your mental health as early as possible and make course corrections if you need to along the way.
Wow. That's a beautiful thing. And I see that you guys have a team, people that you have a point to work with you on this project, or it's an ongoing project. I like to call what we do in other people's lives projects, because um, it's always more to give to it. It's always more to keep giving to it. And what you guys have done is organized a curriculum based thing that I definitely can appreciate. Being that someone has been in education or been a affiliate of education for over 10 years now, I truly can see that it is a basis, it's something that is of need very young. And also being that a person that is in now in my 30s, just approached 30, I grew up in, thank you. I grew up in an era where mental health mental health or mental wealth was not discussed as much
Exactly.
prior to. So for someone that's in my age or my transition, someone that works in it and also is learning about it, what advice would you give to
So one of the things that I give, I had a client right before we got on here, and we do this little activity where we document things that are mental wealth uh, deposits, right? So things that I know that will happen to me in a day that make me feel better and increase my mental wealth account. The documentation of that is so key, and so I know that we're all attached to our devices and we love communicating electronically. This is a shift in that, right? So this gives you the opportunity to actually write things. And so studies prove that when you handwrite things, when you actually write them, your brain retains them that much better. And
them?
so I think if I could encourage, if it was just one piece of advice, I don't know how to squeeze it all into just one little thing, but definitely finding a way to document the things that are your mental wealth withdrawals so that you can learn to avoid those. Or if there are things that you can't control or you can't avoid, at least identifying them so that you can sandwich them between two, credit transactions. For example, if I know I'm going to have, like I today, for example, I have to call my website hosting company, and
Hmm.
it will probably be a 2 hour phone call. I know that
Hmm.
that is going to be a withdrawal from my mental wealth bank. So I
Yes.
make sure that before that, I do something that I like to do. And after that, we will do something that is fun. So it's a matter of just understanding that you can always balance out. Like we don't have control over the bad news that comes in over the media, right? We have no control of it. It is a negative impact. It's a withdrawal. But if we are starting to document what our deposits are, we can refer back to those and go, okay, listen, today was a tough day. What do I need to do to, and we used to say like refill our,
Yeah.
right? You don't want to pour from an empty cup, but you
Yeah.
also can't pay a bill with an empty checking account, right? And so what we've done is found a way to teach children and anyone else, especially university students, not just about their mental wealth, but how to keep track of their financial wealth as well. Because a lot of schools aren't preparing our young adults for,
Yeah.
right? They are just like, oh, money doesn't just appear in my account. Like the card doesn't just automatically reload. Actually, there has to be deposits in order for there to be withdrawals. And so
Yeah.
it's a sneaky way of teaching kind of initial financial literacy and also mental health. So So yeah, I'd say document it, keep track of it so you can keep it balanced.
I absolutely like that. I absolutely like that. And I truly can appreciate what you're trying to accomplish. And the one thing that I find amazing is your son is along his journey with you.
He is.
He, I think that is the very coolest thing. That's super cool. How is that? How is that? Like, how has your journey, like, help you define the growth of your child, and he's been a part of what you are doing?
Yeah.
Like, how is
It's awesome. I think it's awesome. He may have a different perspective.
that?
um, but I like that. So I have two children actually. So my
Nice,
daughter is 34. She just turned
nice.
34 on the 14th of June. And she's doing great. She is a registered nurse in Houston. She has her master's. She's doing great things. A wonderful human. And but I did not have that level of transparency even with myself when she was growing up. So I didn't give her the opportunity to become mentally wealthy because I didn't even know about how to do that myself, right? So
Yeah,
when it comes to my son, who is 14, he has been alongside me this whole time and just trying to understand what healing out loud looks like, how to talk about
yeah,
traumas, and and he didn't necessarily have a choice. Like I kind of, I'm like, hey, I'm going to do this thing. We're doing it.
yeah,
But I will tell you that the first time I spoke at his school when he was in middle school. And I said, it was career day. And I'm one of those parents, like I show up for career day. Even when I was in corporate America, I was in IT. And so kids always wanted to know about technology. So I agreed to do a career day at my son's school. And I asked him, I said, do you want me to talk about suicide prevention and mental health? Or are you going to get teased? Like, because kids can be mean, right?
yeah,
Like, are you okay with me talking about this? And he was like, absolutely. I want you to talk about the work that you're doing. And the number of lives that were impacted that day is baffling. Like these kids, sixth, seventh, and eighth graders were coming through, and the room was always full, and they always had questions. Some of them had already attempted suicide themselves.
wow,
Some of them knew people that had died by suicide. They told me about places that you could go and find ways to like actually show someone how to do it. I mean, I learned so much from these kids. And I was so grateful to my son for allowing me that opportunity because I grew as a human. I learned more as a mental wealth advisor. But now he's the behind the scenes kid now. He loves photography.
yeah,
And so he likes to be able to capture those moments while I'm on stage or while I'm teaching. So it makes him a part, like a viable part of the team, not just as
yeah,
my son, but he's like, hey, let me get my camera ready. Let me make sure we got some good shots. And so I love having him as a part of the team, being able to see the change that happens when we're doing this work. But then also being able to capture those moments with that camera that we can look
yeah.
back on. That becomes a mental wealth deposit for us much later when we look back at it, like, oh,
Right.
remember when we were in DC and we did this. So it's great. I hate that I didn't give my daughter the opportunity to be a part of that because I wasn't ready to heal yet.
Hmm.
But now that I am healing out loud, my son has been very supportive. And, he's a 14-year-old boy, though. So, you know, um,
Right, right. Hey, but I find that cool, and hey, kudos to him for coming along with you on this journey, healing out loud. I really, really like that. I really like healing out loud because uh, sometimes that's what's best. You know,
yes,
sometimes
absolutely.
that's what's best.
Absolutely.
Uh, so um, as we get deeper into this conversation, I find that you are becoming very, very calm, and you are enjoying yourself very much. I can see, I
Absolutely.
can sense that. I like to transition right here. We
Okay.
like to play a little game called This or That. Have you ever heard of this game?
I heard of it. I have. Let's do it. I'm excited.
Okay. So a little bit of something about this or that. We typically play it every day. Maybe we maybe we don't know we are, but sometimes when I pull up to get something to eat, I am going to order either this or that, and one or the other one is more important for me. So I want to start off with a simple question. Don't know if you're a huge sports fan, but let's just start off with something small like Cowboys or Saints.
Ooh, that's a I'm gonna say Cowboys.
Oh my God.
I mean,
Okay.
I'm in the circle. I just support by the star. Like I gotta
This
support
is
local.
true. This is true. It's kind of hard for you to dislike them when you see it everywhere. Okay.
Literally,
Right.
yes.
Okay. All right. So I'll let you have that one. That's all simple. And I'll let you know you're the first person that came on the Famous Now show that have said that they are true Cowboy fans. And so you may be breaking records today. Thank you. All right. Let's go with a little bit something like this. So let's say this or that. Would you like to make more money or gain more visibility?
Make more money.
Make more money. Okay. Okay. Can you elaborate?
Absolutely. So I, like you mentioned, you are able to find a lot of information about me online. So from a
Hmm.
visibility perspective, I've spent the past 2 years building my brand and marketing, and I already had the opportunity to speak, right? So people see me, they've seen me, I've been on TV shows. But making more money gives me the opportunity to do the things that I love, like travel with my son and go to disconnect, right? And so
Yeah.
visibility is great, but at this, with inflation the way that it is right now, and
Yeah.
wings being like $20 for four of them to fry at home, yeah, I'm gonna go with
Yeah.
money. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with
Yeah. Okay. 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 Let's say this. Let's go with this one then. It is summertime here in Dallas, and we are definitely having a real summer. Would would you prefer some time at the beach, or would you say a little time outside around like a volleyball net or something like that?
the beach, hands down. You didn't even
Beach.
have to finish, Andrew. I could have just said beach. Like, yes, the beach will always, the answer will
Okay.
always be the beach. So yeah, absolutely.
Nice beach, nice weather, sitting across. Okay. Okay. Good book.
Uh, Not at the beach.
Not at the beach. Okay. Okay.
I just listen to the water and listen to the waves and the birds. Like I completely disconnect. So no, just me and the beach.
Ah.
That's it.
Okay. Okay. So that leads us to my next question. Going into it, you kind of answered it. Let's see. Would you prefer if these were two choices that you had to make? Would you prefer to live on a boat or live on a spaceship?
That's a tough one. I don't know.
No, right?
I don't know. I'm gonna say live on a spaceship. I'm
Live
gonna,
on a spaceship.
I mean, because why not? Like that's cool. Like that's new to be able to have a different
Right.
perspective of how small the world really is and how
Right.
that's
Yeah,
it.
that's cool. That's I really like the way I like the way that you answered that because I would have never thought about that. But living on the spaceship. All right, kudos, kudos. All right, now around Christmas time, birthday time, Mother's Day, it's so many great things that we have to honor our moms with our black queens and parents with. But would you prefer a handmade item or a store bought gift?
Handmade, absolutely.
Handmade.
Write me a card, make me a note, something that was from you. Absolutely, hands down, no questions asked. Something handmade will be is always a mom's favorite. Always.
So let me ask you: have you ever received macaroni gifts yet?
Macaroni, like the with the necklaces, like
Yeah,
macaroni.
little macaroni
Yeah.
necklaces. Okay, okay, okay. Cool, cool. Great, great. Yes, handmade is the way to go.
It
All
is
right,
all the
all right,
time.
all right. Let's go with this. So you're a big communicator. You actually have a very busy schedule, but you stay tried and true to it. And along the way, I know you have an assistant, but let's say someone can reach your assistant and they want to come to you directly. Would you prefer for them to text you or a phone call? Would you prefer text message or phone call?
Text message.
Text message. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's preference.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is I'll read the text message and I'm not sure when you probably still have to follow up with the phone call afterwards because I read it and then start doing something else. But
Yeah.
at least I understand in that moment, like even if I'm in the studio, I can look at a text message and understand if I need to step away and make a call. So yeah, text messages win hands down. Hands down.
All right. Cool. Cool. Now, I know you a traveling lady. You just told me recently that you were getting ready to um take a vacation soon
Mhm.
and just settle in. Now, would you prefer that vacation? I know it's going to be abroad. Let's say that vacation is either in Mexico or Rome.
Mexico.
Mexico.
Absolutely. Yeah. I
Okay.
yeah. The culture of the people in Mexico is very familiar to me, right? Just they love to eat, which I absolutely love to eat, and you like to eat in Rome as well, but my palate is a little bit more spicy and more so from a Mexico perspective. So,
Okay. Okay. I like that. I like that. All right. Now, here is one of our mental wealth questions. It's a question leaning to mental wealth.
okay.
Would you prefer would you prefer to have a peaceful mind or a healed heart?
Ooh, that is that's a trick question. I feel like I don't know if I want to do this or that. I'm going to say yes to both of those. I think that what is necessary for the next, that you can't heal your heart when you're not at a state of peace, right? You've got to find some peace in order to even start that journey. So I'm going to cheat on that answer and say the answer is both. You need to have a peaceful mind in order to even attempt at healing your heart. So I might get that a big red X for that one not being this or that because I'm gonna say both. Uh oh, did I lose it?
Okay, yeah, that was a great answer. All right, all right. Let's go right here with this one. I like this one. We wrote this one down personally. It was change one person's life for the better forever, or feed 1,000 people.
Feed 1,000.
Feed 1,000 people. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Would you prefer to spend a day off shopping or meditating?
Mm. That's tough too. Wow, you didn't tell me the questions are gonna be so hard. Let's see. I'm gonna say meditating, just because I don't actually enjoy shopping. Like I'm one of those people that's like, okay, I need a pair of black slacks, and I will go buy the black slacks and come home. Right? I'm not a just mosey around looking in and out of like I have a goal, I got to get
Yeah.
it in and out. So meditating is definitely I have much more return on my investment in that,
Yeah.
and so I'm gonna go with meditating.
All right. I like that. All right. No, it's movie season. It's a lot of good movies coming out. Uh, don't know if you have been back to the movies recently. Okay. Um, Now when you go to the movies and you really want to enjoy yourself, are you going to go check out a horror film or a good comedy movie?
Ooh, horror.
Ooh, okay. what's your, what's your favorite horror movie right now?
I don't know if I have one right now. I don't know. I don't think any of the newer ones are really good.
Okay.
So I go back to kind of some old school ones.
Okay.
but I don't know. I can't think of one right now. I don't know when that's a favorite. I haven't been to
It's-
the movies in a while. I mean, the last time we went to the movies, we saw the Doctor Strange. So, because I'm a
okay, okay,
Marvel,
yeah,
and Marvel and DC folk. So, yeah, I don't remember, but yeah, horror definitely wins.
okay, hard, okay, okay. Like it, I like it. All right, let's say you in the city of Dallas. They're known for a lot of culture. It's a lot of great things going on. When you're out and about, do you prefer arts or a musical festival?
Ooh, I don't appreciate the difficulty of these questions, sir. Um, I I ooh, I like both. Um, I'm a member at most all of the museums downtown.
Nice.
But I also attend a lot of stuff at the Opera at Eisman. So yeah, I'll say art. I'll say art by a slim margin, though, just very slim.
Very slim. Okay. What's what's one of your favorite exhibits right now?
So the immersive Van Gogh exhibit is amazing.
Okay.
Um, and pretty much anything at the Nasher, the Sculpture Center, right? I love that they incorporate indoor and outdoor exhibits, and so.
Mhm.
But the Van Gogh is probably my best, and then I like the stuff at the Perot because they've got the dinosaurs, and I love being able to go and kind of just marvel at that as well. So those are two of my favorites.
Nice. All right, couple
Okay.
more here. Guys, if you're just tuning in, you'll see Miss Sherry James, PMP, project manager, and Miss Sherry James is here talking about Phoenix Speaks, mental wealth, the power of communicating and just being able to be a visible person. We're playing a game called This or That. And she said she's having a hard time with these questions. Say a little
They're not supposed to be this hard. They're not supposed
okay, last couple. Let's see. I like this one.
Okay.
Because if you haven't done neither, I really want to hear your perspective.
Okay.
Um, would you rather? Now, this is for pay. Would you be paid to go skydiving or run a lifetime of marathons?
No. No
Let's
comma, thank you, period. No comma, thank you, period. I'm with you. Um, wow. If I had to so I would say skydiving because I would obviously just have to do that once.
one time.
Yeah. As terrified as I would be of it, I would do that if I had to choose. So
Okay, I like that. It's a very, very great answer.
thanks.
And I know that my last question, you
Uh-oh.
probably will have a very, very great answer for it.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it. Let's do
It's one of my favorite questions to ask anyone that I speak with.
it. Okay.
At the end of your life, would you rather be remembered and cherished or reverenced and respected?
Oh, the first, cherished.
Cherished.
Absolutely, without a doubt. My goal is to touch as many lives as possible, and I think that I leave a little bit of myself with everybody that I interact with. So the respect is kind of a given, but I love the idea of being people, to cherish the time that we had together.
Yeah,
I'm one of those people that, like, when I pass away, I want there to be a celebration. I want people dancing and
yeah,
listening to music and telling funny stories. I want people to cherish the time that not only they had with me, but the time that they have left on this planet themselves. So that one's a good one. I like that one. That's a good
thank you, thank you.
one.
All right, thank you, thank you. You survived it.
I made it.
You
Yeah.
made it through. You survived the question. You survived the this or that, and you did great. You did
Thank you.
great. All
Thank you.
right. So that last question, um, I really liked how you defined it.
Mhm.
You know, at the end of life, you would like to be recalled about the very good times, the
Mhm.
happy times, that great moments, something that will always have lasting impact on someone. that they,
Absolutely.
right, that they remember you for.
Hmm.
Um, and this is what you do. You actually have a way of going in different rooms and talking about suicide,
Hmm.
being able to discuss suicide and the importance of everything surrounding it, the
Hmm.
conversations that need to be had about it, and um, the things that are not said about it.
Right. Absolutely.
Um, being that you're in a lot of rooms having the conversations with a lot of adults, kids,
Mhm.
uh, what is the general consensus? What is the thing that you can say that can go along across all boards, all levels, that you can talk to someone and they hear it and they're attracted to that thought about?
About specific to suicide, you mean?
Yes, ma'am.
So I think one of the good things that happened as a result of COVID is the amount of conversations that are happening regarding mental health and suicide prevention. So never in my lifetime have I been able to just literally, there's ads that pop up on my, social media about things like BetterHelp and Mental Health America. And, so I, I think the biggest point is that you're not alone, right? And that's one of the things that we are challenged with when we struggle with things like major depressive disorder or anxiety. We always believe that we're on this island alone, like no one else is feeling this. No, I can't explain this to anyone because it wouldn't make sense. So I think the fact that we have so many resources available,
Hmm.
especially in that very important crisis time, which we are really honestly all still in post pandemic.
Right,
So
right.
we are all struggling with a version of PTSD, from being isolated, from being, losing jobs, losing loved ones. So, there's hope, right? I think one of the other kind of key points about suicide that I like to leave with people in the room when I'm speaking is that um, I ask people to try to change the vernacular from a person committing suicide to a
Hmm.
person dying by suicide. And those two words are very different in that committing suicide, it sounds in like I chose to do this or I did this because, in some cases that's true.
Hmm.
But there are things that people don't realize, like there are certain medications that the side effect of that medication is suicidal ideation and suicidal thought. So if I am taking a medication that causes me to think this way,
Hmm.
and then those thoughts win, it was not necessarily me committing suicide, right? I died by suicide. I died as a result of mental illness. I did a radio show right after the death of Naomi Judd, right? And they talked a little bit about, what's the difference between dying by mental illness and dying by suicide. It's really just the vernacular, but understanding that mental illness is not just what happens in that one day. So Naomi Judd had been struggling for years. She's been a very vocal advocate for mental health. And so her dying by mental illness has a different, it feels different when you say it than committing suicide. It seems like a choice and a final and whatever. Except if we step back and say, that's this person struggled and they fought,
Yeah.
right? So I use the analogy, if a soldier goes to war and fights the good fight and does all that he can, but we still lose the war, does that make his fight any less valuable? It doesn't. He still fought the fight. He still fought the fight.
Yes, ma'am.
But if that person then dies in battle, we don't take away the fact that he fought, right? He still fought as hard as he or she still fought as hard as they could. And so I think just making sure that people understand that they're not alone is the most important. And that the goal of my program is that before someone gets to the point of suicide, that they know they have other options when it's just a bad day. And when your bad day turns into 3 bad days, and then your 3 bad days turn into a month, like there are people, this is when we need to get involved, not when it's been 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. Let's make sure we engage a team as early as possible because there's so many people like myself that we literally wake up every day just wanting to help save lives. And it's not the way it used to be, right? That didn't used to be the conversation,
Yeah.
especially in certain communities. So
Yeah.
now you've got therapists that look like you, whatever you look like. Now you've got therapists that may, support a certain group that you support, right? There's just so many available options to allow you to heal out loud. It's okay to do it because we're all doing it. Like we're literally all healing at
Yeah.
the same time. And I don't know that we've ever experienced something like that before. So definitely take advantage of the resources that are available to you.
Absolutely. And um, I like what you said about us being able to have uh, access to therapists that can accommodate what we need and what we feel because maybe they look like us, maybe they just have attributed so much to our community where they understand.
Mhm.
Um, and that that has been a far gone narrative. That has been a thing in our community
Great.
where it makes it hard for us to speak up or speak out about mental health and
Mhm.
the depths of it, the thoughts that
Absolutely.
happen um, within it. What is the way or what is some advice you give to others that have not spoken out and they struggle every single day? I know
Yeah.
that they may not know that they're not alone, but they're choosing to actually handle it internally
Yeah.
and not necessarily voice it outwardly and walk into the pathway of doing such. So what is something that you tell those people?
So this is an unpopular opinion, and it is just my opinion. So please take it as such. Um, but the analogy that I use usually is like, okay, so mental illness is an illness, right? It's
Mhm.
not a choice. It's not something people choose to do, right? So let's say, I walked out today and I fell down the stairs and I broke my leg, right? I could try to like reset it myself and fix it myself. Um, but I don't have the tools to do that. I don't have
Yeah.
the knowledge, the experience, the certifications, right? I wouldn't try to heal my broken leg myself, right?
Mhm.
Or if I was diagnosed, when I was diagnosed 20 some odd years ago with type 1 diabetes, I did try to handle it myself. It didn't work
Mhm.
because I don't have a pancreas, and not having a pancreas is just something I can't. I mean, I guess I could get a transplant, I guess, but I don't know.
Mhm.
But in this time, I had to trust that the universe has placed people around me with a very specific skill set to either reset this broken leg, right? I'm going to go to a
Mhm.
doctor that specializes in orthopedic, or whatever that's called. And so I encourage people to find ways, and now there's so many more ways that you don't even have to go to a therapist's office. There's apps, right, that you can log
Mhm.
into, and nobody needs to know that you're doing that. Like it can be
Mhm.
just you and your therapist. There are things like talk therapy groups and that meetups that you could go to and meet people. And it's not like they're going to go through this book of here's all the things you do to heal from a mental illness perspective, but
Mhm.
just being in a group of like-minded individuals is also an option. So, my biggest thing is if you find out you had some physical uh, illness, you would seek help, right? You would seek
Yeah.
help from someone who is certified to do that. And mental health is the same way, right? And again, nowadays, you can just pull up an app and type in some stuff, and the therapist will respond to you right there in that moment. There's hotlines you can call, there's text that you can send a text to, and somebody will respond right back. So if it's shame that's holding you back, and I want this to be clear, like if we like before we wrap, this is my number one thought when it comes to suicide prevention. The thing that keeps suicide at the top, powerful level where it is silence.
Mm,
So
mm,
that's where suicide wins, right?
mhm.
When you're too ashamed to talk about it, when you're too ashamed to even think about it, when you just want to pretend that it's not happening, silence is what helps suicide win. And I don't mean silence like just quiet. I mean, because you can show up and be like, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm fine. I'm great. How are you? And then 3 days later, that person has died by suicide because you're like, well, they seemed okay, right? It's not something that necessarily always shows up and other people could intervene,
Mhm.
because we choose to be silent about that, right? We choose not to talk about our own feelings. And I am working so hard to normalize that. We should be able to talk about how you're doing. And if I check in on you next week, Darius, and I'm like, hey, how are you doing? And you say,
Yeah,
fine, I'm going to say, how are you really?
yeah,
How are you really doing? And that
yeah,
changes the conversation, right? Like
yeah,
I know that I need to know how you are truly doing, or how is your heart, or how are you handling this situation that just happened that none of us have control over.
right.
So I would say, I'm still going to always refer people to get help, right, and to reach out in whatever way they can. Maybe it's a family member, maybe it's your pastor at church, right?
Yeah,
But we were not created to be alone. And since we weren't not created to be alone, we're not created to heal alone either.
I like that.
Yeah.
I truly like that. I like that. I like that because mostly when you speak to people about mental health, or when I've heard recent conversations about mental health and the importance, well, sometimes it seems as if the person that's actually delivering those messages, sometimes they seem to have it all. They know it all about it. And I like that you are truly someone that is saying, hey, I don't know everything about this.
Mhm.
And I truly feel like I feel that's important,
Mhm.
simply because that's a community building skill. You are saying, hey, I don't know it all, but I can tell you this, this, and this. And then past that point, it's limitations. So I say go to a therapist, go to your pastor, a family member. That's
Mhm.
a community. That's a
Absolutely.
community of co-counselors or people that
Absolutely.
just really care about that person.
Yeah.
And that's very powerful. Um, it's very, very powerful. Thank you for doing that. Thank you even for stating that on the show today, because it's something I personally needed to hear.
Mhm. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad that helped. I'll tell you that I spoke in DC at the Mental Health America conference a couple weeks ago, and I used this apple analogy. Right. I actually had actual apples that I threw out into the audience because that's the kind of keynote person I am. Like I want everybody. We were up dancing to like Bob Marley music. It was awesome. But I talked about the concept of Sankofa, right? And the Sankofa bird representing we must return to the past in order to move forward. And so if you think about the way African villages thrived and survived, it was because you always had this set of elders that you could go to, right? And their job was to tell you, like, oh, you know what, Darius, what you're going through, I understand that. Your grandfather had a similar issue. Your great uncle had a similar issue.
Hmm.
So it's like that saying, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
now we move away from our trees, right? We are no longer necessarily in the same area. Somebody may have taken me as the apple from my tree and transported me halfway across the country. So when things are happening, I don't have that group of elders necessarily that I can go back to and go, hey, I feel this and it feels different. And no one around me seems to be responding the same way. But when you
hmm,
have, like I said, is if it's your therapist or your pastor, but specifically if it's a family member, we've got to be able to normalize conversations in our families about mental illness
right,
generations ago, so that
yeah,
our children, ourselves and our children, aren't like, it must just be me because everybody else in my family seems to be happy all the time. And why do I feel this way? Because we don't want to actually break that generational curse. Like we
yeah,
want to say we're not going to parent the way our parents did, but we're not
yes,
going to talk about the impact of what happened as a result of that, right? Like, because
Right.
my parents parented me this way, I am broken in this way. And instead of me telling you that as my child, I don't talk about it. And now you think something's wrong. So, using that Sankofa principle, going back to the past, the way that we used to thrive in African villages was we had a group of people we would go talk to, right? And we were like, hey, this is what's happening in my marriage, and the elders would tell you, here's what, here's what's happened the generations before you, here's how it was helped, here's how we helped it, or here's how, you may need to change your ways. And so we've got to go back to that same kind of thinking. What do we do? There are always people, right? The people in African villages, the women who sewed, they didn't sew just for their family, they sewed for everybody. They
Right.
made things for everyone.
Right.
And so we've got to find our group of elders that we trust enough that we can go to and say, I know I'm not the only one going through this, right? Like, I know someone else has gone through this. Can
Yeah.
you help me out a little bit? Because I don't know how I'm doing it. So changes the narrative again. And so if we're talking about it in mental wealth, you can go to someone who you see as mentally wealthy. It seems like you said, they seem to have it together and they may know a little bit. Ask for some of that wealth to be passed down. Can you
Yeah.
help invest in me, invest some time in me and some knowledge so that I can grow to be as mentally wealthy as possible?
That was beautiful. Absolutely. Absolutely. Miss Sarah James, this is the portion of the interview that is partially my favorite one.
Okay.
Um, this is the part where I allow my guests to take this opportunity to think back, recall the time where you were coming up, where you struggled, where things weren't just perfect. Now that you're in a different space, there is someone that is uniquely traveling in the same destination that you're going. They may not be there now. They may not even know that they're about to partake in this, but they may hear this. They may hear it live. They may hear it 6 months from now, 6 years from now. But this is the part where you can look directly into the camera and tell them everything's gonna be okay, and why this journey is meant for them, and how they can be sustainable in this.
Got it. So, um, I would say this first and foremost, because I have the letters PMP behind my name as a project management professional. I believe that everything is a plan, right? There's a start, there's a finish, there's some tasks that have to happen in the middle. And one of my newest sayings is that God is the best project manager, and He knows already how the story ends.
Right.
And when we have this trust in God as a project manager, there's going to be things that we just can't see. We don't know why it's necessary. Some of the things that are big stressors in our lives, like losing a job. I will tell you that at my age, I did 30 years in corporate America, and that was some layoffs and some businesses being bought and all of that. But every single time when I look back, again, that Sankofa principle, we've got to go back in order to move forward. Every time that happened, my next thing was so much better. And I didn't even know that I needed that next thing, right? I didn't know that it was time for me to move on. And I would probably, if it was up to me, I would have still been at AT&T where I started back in the 80s, right? I would have stayed there forever. But God had a different plan. And so when we start to trust the process, and when we trust the project plan, and we more so trust the project manager in God and in the universe, knowing this is painful. Like, but I've chosen to go through this painful period because I know what's on the other side is so amazing and it's so much better. And it's hard to do when your chemicals in your brain aren't firing that way and your brain is telling you something different. But you have to know, and you have to have that trust, is that, like, I'm not trying to worry about when I turn 55. Let me just make it through today. What do I have today to be thankful for? What do I have today to be grateful for? And if I can't do that by myself, then I absolutely will engage someone, because sometimes it's our diet. Sometimes what we eat does not allow our bodies to create serotonin, and we're not going to be happy and we don't know why, right? So go and find someone that can help understand your why, understand why you are feeling the way that you are, and they can help get you back to a sense of normalcy so that you can practice being okay. It's okay to not be okay as long as you're on your way to being okay.
That's beautiful, guys. It has been another great episode. I mean, really, really great episode of the Famous Now Show. We've had Miss Sherry James on. Very, I want to say, activist, a philanthropist, all these names that I can give her, but most importantly, a God fearing, God loving, energy, great woman. And Miss James, we thank you so much for being a part of the Famous Now Show. You could have been anywhere and anywhere with anybody, but you chose to be right here with us, and we're very grateful for that. Guys, continue to push for your dreams. Continue to push for your dreams. Um, we learned today about the mental health, mental wealth thing. We learned about suicide and how not speaking out could potentially be harmful. We learned things, guys. We learned that we have to learn to heal out loud. And to be incredibly successful, you have to struggle, you have to go through these things to find your purpose on the other side of it. And guys, we're wonderful and blessed to have you be a subscriber to the Famous Now Show. Continue to like and subscribe. Continue to spread the word, the message, and hey, most importantly, stay famous.